the #1 best self-support podcast for veterans. You are now listening to purSUance Straight Out the Box, the power of collaboration, choice of freedom and liberation, imagine hope, create action, visualize change. Go after the better you. Hey y'all, this is Taniki Richard on purSUance Straight Out the Box, the #1 best self-support podcast for veterans. And today's title is Why Racism is So Traumatic. You know about our podcast here. We talk about trauma on a whole nother level. And me as being a trauma expert, I've talked to many other veterans and people abroad, survivors of abuse, that really don't understand what's happening right here in America. And it is traumatic. We discuss post-traumatic stress as a combat or a military sexual trauma, being raped or molested or abused, domestic violence. But we're not really talking about how racism in general, a lot of veterans have been in the military and have faced racism on multi-different platforms and different ways. And we want to discuss with Brother Crumb that I have here today how racism is traumatic. He is a producer, social media influencer, master student, and creator and host of Crumb TV Network. I have here Brother Crumb.
Peace and love, sis. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, I'm so glad. Listen, your YouTube channel and the things that you have going on Instagram and Facebook, I'm telling you, it will blow your mind. For those who are listening, I've been doing a lot of research with history, science, health. Brother Crumb, you cover a lot of different things and you research a lot of different things. You wouldn't believe it until you research it yourself and be like, wow, Brother Crumb said that on his show. And yes, these are real facts, like history that we don't even know about or know when to actually research those things. So you bring up a lot of different things. I want to get some background on you real quick. You tend to say that you're like a neophyte. Like, we're going to be using words, y'all, that y'all just going to have to research yourself. But hopefully, Brother Crumb, you'll be able to explain some of those things. And please don't assume that, my listeners know exactly what you're talking about. So be kind and break it down for us a little bit, So just let's start there. Like, what is a neophyte?
Well, absolutely. I'm so glad that you referenced that. Actually, it was a name bestowed upon me. It was gifted to me. And one of my elders, I just refer to him as Baba. Baba is a way to address a elder man. So one of my Babas, he would always, as we correspond through email, he would say, young neophyte. So if you look at the words, a lot of times to understand them, you're going to have to go to the root word. Why I harp on the word so much is because by the time our children reach the age of 5th grade, their European counterparts know approximately 10,000 more words than they do. Our children can and do perform as well as their European counterparts. The only caveat is that there's an adjustment with the English language. We have to be cognizant that our children are not English, so there's going to be a little bit of a cultural gap, if you will.
So that's where the etymology comes in. Like, you got to know the breakdown and the origin of the word and where it came from to better understand it.
Absolutely. And it's going to have to take a whole cornucopia of methods. So not only are we going to use etymology, we're going to use word context. We're going to figure out these root words. So if we look at the root word, which is a beautiful segue for the word neophyte, we're going to see the word neo.
Matrix.
Neo means new.
Oh, I was going to say, look, the Matrix, the movie, The Matrix. Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Neo was new to the Matrix. He was the one, but he was the new one. He was this new age has begun with this person. Now, a neophyte is a newbie, a noob, an amateur, a greenhorn, wet behind the ears.
A novice.
A novice,
yeah.
And I wear that proudly because I translate to that as another way of saying master student. The only people who know it all are know-it-alls.
Right.
a
Gotta love
a
those kind of people.
right. And for me, I've mastered the art of learning by acknowledging that I don't know anything. And at that point, am I in the best position to learn absolutely everything?
So is that what I know you have kids and you have a wife? Is that what you kind of spread in your family dynamic for your children?
Absolutely. I am at odds with the establishment. And unfortunately, my children did have to go to public school, the first two. And with that, I would ask the children, same thing my father would ask me growing up, what'd you learn in school? And when they came home and told me, it would just rub me the wrong way. And I was like, you know what? So now I'm kind of arguing with their teacher vicariously through them. So I'll tell them, don't tell your teacher this. Oh, that teacher. So, and then the baby's in the room like, what happened? I said, he did this. And me and the baby going back and forth. And the baby's, I can't believe it. Me neither.
It's kind of like telling your kids things at home when you're being truthful. Like, listen, Santa Claus don't exist. And then they go to school and it's like they try to tell other kids and now they are like sticking out like sore thumbs in a whole different way because they're not teaching children necessarily the truth. They're teaching them what they need to learn in order to be quote unquote productive members of society.
Well, when we're dealing with our veterans, what better way to give them an idea of what Crumb TV and Crumb himself are about than going to America's very first war, which was the Revolutionary War. We celebrate that with Independence Day, July 4th, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And we know that was the whole 1776 signing of the Declaration of Independence, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
So now we're dealing with a general. The general's name is George Washington. He was only the general of the Transcontinental Congress. The Transcontinental Army, which was simply a bunch of ragtag militiamen, AKA farmers with pitchforks.
Yes, yes.
So now we're going to see where it's really guerrilla warfare at this particular time because, this is the biggest navy in the world. The sun never sets on the British Empire. So you're going against the British and all you got is a pitchfork. So now we're going to see in history there's an African saying, until the lion has his own historian, the glory of the hunt will always go to the hunter.
Right.
So George Washington, the way he saw the story go down is the story we hear. We never heard Benedict Arnold's side.
Yeah.
And that was something I told my children when they were in 5th grade. I said, baby, Benedict Arnold was Batman and George Washington was Robin. Let's be clear about
right.
that.
And you actually did a whole presentation with another one of my brothers, Chef Jay Ponder, where y'all broke that down, the truth about the Independence Day, 4th of July, and also Juneteenth. So if that's something that y'all really want to get into, you should go to his IG page, Crumb TV _ YouTube Crumb TV, so you can kind of dive into that content because it is broad and wide and very insightful. Let's talk a little bit more about what veterans are learning when they join the military, fighting for your freedom. You join thinking like, okay, I'm a part of America. And when you look like me, brown skin, melanated, a person who joined in the military to fight for your country, fight for your independence, then they tell you just based off of the color of your skin, you could be a target for police brutality or a target for, civilians taking it upon themselves to apprehend you just because based on the color of your skin and other factors too. But let's talk about how racism is traumatic and how it's actually affecting not just veterans, but, melanated people across the U.S. What do you have about that, Crumb?
Well, first, let me say that I've always worked closely with veterans. One of my, if you will, co-stars or teachers on my platform we call him the Minister of Information. On Google, you can find Chef Jay Ponder. But yeah, the Minister of Information is a veteran himself. He served in the Navy. I think he served more
Over
than a
10
decade.
years. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So I've always worked with brothers and sisters who have served proudly, and those are some of the people I work best with. Because when you're dealing with a military-minded person, you're going to deal with somebody who's organized. You're going to deal with somebody who knows what drive is, who knows what sacrifice is. So first and foremost, I got to say I have great respect for those who give and whom have given. First and foremost, let me say that. Now, with that said, I want to say that those brothers and sisters of ours, even though I don't envy, because I know the sacrifice it takes and it's not an easy thing, I do respect and I leverage that as a
Yeah.
part of what I say when I say it, you
Yeah.
know. And let me be clear and round all of that up by saying our people have fought in every last one of your wars. Every last one of your wars. You can't come and say anything about us. Let me go back in the history. 100 years after 1776, approximately 1865. Well, Crumb, what happened in 1865? After the Revolutionary War, the next big war was the Civil War. It was a white on white fight. And let's be clear, them down south overall wearing two teeth having, messing with my cousin relationship as hillbillies was kicking you Yankees ass. If not for us, this bitch would be the Confederacy.
Yeah.
We have
We
fought
turned it
in
around.
every single one of your wars, and we have turned the tides. So, with that said, I am unapologetic with the position that I take towards this country.
Yeah.
Simply because I speak on behalf of the veterans. You're not going to treat me like this when my sister put her life on the line. You're not going to treat me like this when my grandfather, who was an MP, military policeman, for those who don't know, and they only know the civilian talk, and my great grandfather. You know, so many of our people have served this country and have turned around to come back and to be repaid by being smite on the cheek.
Yes.
But I say unto these veterans, the time of forgiveness is over. Because there's a movie, sister, I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
The Spook Who Sat by the Door. You ever seen that movie?
No, I haven't seen the movie, but there's also a book. There was a book about it as well, and it was very riveting. I don't know. I gotta watch the movie. Who's the star in it? Because sometimes they change stuff from the book in the movie. Go ahead.
So now, The Spook Who Sat by the Door was a movie about integration into the top elite ranks of the military, being special forces. I don't know if this is special forces or not, but the CIA. The CIA.
Mm-hmm.
So now the CIA has their first token Negro to the force. Now they go through a rigorous vetting process. And I think it's like 500 of the nation's best Negroes, and they're just picking one of the 500. So it just so happens the one that they pick is somewhat of an anarchist revolutionary. So after he gets all the special forces training that he can receive, survival techniques, bombs,
Weapons, yes.
weapons,
yes.
so on and so forth. Thank you so much. And after that, he goes AWOL. He defects. Once he defects and goes AWOL, he goes to the slums of Chicago and trains those quote unquote gang members.
Yeah.
And he kind of gives a incoherent, drug-filled militant group. He sobers them up. He gives them real training and real operations and a mission statement, if so to speak. So with that said, they wage war against America, and America says, "Hey, this is no normal enemy we're fighting. This is an intelligent opposition." So now, eventually they find out who he is, but it's a as you were saying, a riveting movie. And I would suggest all of our people, civilians and veterans alike, go check that out, because it highlights one particular thing that I want to share with you right now. We have a special class of people within our veterans. And verily I say unto these civilians, we need to tap into the wealth of information that our veterans have. Our people say, oh, we need this, we need that. Family, we got people within our demographic who are trained, licensed to kill.
Yep.
Several confirmed kills. And within our wage against racism, white supremacy, as a people, I might even say that they will be the ones that lead us to the salvation if we do have to seriously fight back.
Now, also, veterans not understanding that you have benefits to tap into that will allow you to own property, own land. So we build the wealth from that as well. Another example of what you were talking about was with the Black Panthers. When they came in, mostly it was veterans and criminals that they came out, right? And so when they joined, look at the force that how they affected the community in over 20 years, if not for the FBI and CIA and a couple of select few people who decided to infiltrate and tear it from the inside, out. I think Black Panther would have still been one of the most impactful, positive things in our community to date.
Absolutely. That GI Bill is a lifesaver. I don't think our people understand some of the benefits that we can glean from this military tenure or career even. Yeah. And I was just something really simple. I was in at this little power plant that I worked at, and I had a can and I didn't know how to open it. It's just really simple, 1 + 1. And this old veteran, he had to been every bit of 60, 70. And this is back when I was young. I'm about 40 now, so I was about 20 at the time. So it was a while back. But anyway, he had a keychain, and on his keychain, he had this little contraption to open cans. And it was just very simple, but it's like in any situation, he said, listen, I received this. This is military issued from the 70s. And it was just those survival techniques. And yes. I don't want a family, when I say militant, you think M16. Militant is being able to survive. These are survival tactics that our veterans know how to employ. I don't know if there will ever be a zombie apocalypse, but whatever people of our people do survive, I would be willing to bet a significant demographic of that would be military.
Yes, those doomsday meal preppers. When you get those MREs, those meals ready to eat, a box of them joints, right? You come in with, if you go on my Instagram, pursUance psotb, I even put out how I have a actual slingshot, but it's not man-made. It's like it's got a real metal handle, the rubber. You're not about to snap that. So what happens when the bullets run out? You better pick up a rock. You see?
Come on, somebody.
Okay, so I think about those type of things, and I'm pretty sure other veterans do as well, because we're always looking at plan A, B, and Z. Okay, so you got to think about those type of things if you have a veteran neighbor next door, get real friendly with them. Get real friendly with them, because they will tell you things that you need to know and when to do it and how to go about that, especially if you are not trained in properly handling firearms. And that's another thing that not trying to, freak anyone out, but they have laws now that veterans can't even own firearms because of certain disability codes that you have. Yeah, they won't allow you to get your concealed carry license or anything like that if you have mental illness and those type of things. They say that's like, protecting the community and then protecting yourself. So if you do have some reserves about, a lot of times civilians tend to be afraid of veterans. because they think, oh, everyone's crazy or you got out because you're disabled. But there are so many things that veterans know about, and we have so many resources. And that's just one part to it. I mean, there's so many other parts to it. But going back to how I want veterans to understand that what is happening on the media and in our communities with racism, the divide between white and black, is actually a traumatic thing. And it goes back even further, not just from, if you experience racism in the military, that's post-traumatic stress right there. But it goes back further than that. And we were talking about epigenetics, how slavery affected a lot of our behaviors passed down from generation to generation, and how that's traumatic. So just seeing these things come back, people are annoyed. They're afraid to come out their house. They are fearful that the police might pull them over. They serve their country, but they could still be shot down like a dog in the street just because of their skin color. So let's talk about the system of racism to help people understand how much of a danger it is to America today. So can you break down the etymology or the definition of racism?
Yeah. Now, a lot of times, again, when we're dealing with the words, we're going to confuse two popular words, racist and prejudice.
Correct.
Now, a lot of times we have words that don't apply to what we're truly experiencing. So we have to deal with the operative and the speculative. And when we're dealing with operating racism takes the form of institutionalized racism. The leading person or scholar that really broke this down was Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, peace be upon her. She's transitioned a couple of years back out of Washington, D.C. Now, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing tells us that when we're dealing with racism, white supremacy as an institution, we're going to see a policy take form in terms of racism. This institutional racism is the same thing that inspired Hitler, since we want to talk about war and veterans. The first time we see policies of racism are in America, but the rest of the world, because they're watching us, they're going to follow suit. So when you're dealing with policies in America for racism, they're going to take the form of some of the most familiar types of racism that we know in the form of Jim Crow. Mm-hmm. So I don't want the family to be confused and think because I don't like your skin color that I'm racist. That family is called prejudice. Go again and look at the word and break it down. There's a prefix and there's a root word. Pre is the prefix, and a root word is judge. Prejudging somebody. So now when we're dealing with racism as an operating definition, it is where they put policies in place to affect a whole group of people. Sis, if I don't like you because of your skin color, which is radiant and glowing, and I'm just jealous because I'm not glowing like you, then that's me being prejudiced. But if I make a rule that radiant people whose skin glows can't vote, that's going to be institutional racism. Yeah. We're going to see the same thing within the ranks of the military, but it's going to be a little bit more covert. And I think that might be a good word, because our civilians may not be familiar with such words like covert, because certain operations are covert, but the civilians aren't necessarily aware of that. So now when you're dealing with these covert operations, in civilian terms, grandma would have called it a rule of thumb. Well, it's not written down anywhere, but there's a rule of thumb that they can't, make E3 unless, so on and so forth. So now,
and even when they were back in the day, soldiers weren't getting paid the same. They couldn't really discuss. There were white officers who got paid a certain amount and black officers did not. So
there was a movie, I believe, I might be wrong. There's a 50% chance I'm wrong. There was a movie about the first seaman, the first naval officer. I think it was played by Denzel Washington.
Or you're talking about Omar Cuba Gooding Jr.
It was cool Cuban
Cuban,
Gooding Jr.
yeah, and they called him Cookie on the show.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we saw the treatment that he received, and it wasn't that it was him particular, it was anybody who looked like him. So now we're going to see where if it was him particular, hey, that's a prejudice thing, I don't like this guy. But if it's anybody who looks like you, now we're going into a system where it's going to affect just everybody who fits into that category. It's a more advanced form of profiling that has a more harsh effect on us. One more example in terms of racism where we see in the military. My cousin, I kind of look at her like a niece because she's 20 years I'm 20 years her senior. So now, I'm damn near 40, she's about 20. So she says she wants to go into the military. Keep in mind, she's as sharp as a tack. She's very bright. I said, baby girl, if you go and get that associate's degree, you'll go in there with just a little bit of rank. Please don't go in there at the bottom of the barrel. Go in with some rank. But she just wanted to go in. So I had showed her an article. I said, now, and at the time, I think the information was fairly new. There was a woman who was in Afghanistan, and her one of her superiors was trying to fraternize with her. She wasn't trying to have it, and they end up forcing themselves upon her, and which was an unfortunate rape incident, which led to her untimely death over there. And they tried to say it was friendly. No, I don't think they said friendly fire. They said it was something, and the parents, something didn't sit right with them. And the more they looked, the more they found out that she was raped by, one of her superiors over in Afghanistan. And I was pleading to my cousin. I said, baby girl, I do not want you to get over there in Afghanistan. You don't know nobody, and you're around these racist daggone people who are going to take advantage of you because they didn't like you over here. Yeah. So whether you're over there serving to help protect their families or not, you're fresh meat to them.
Yeah. And it is about what you're talking about is military sexual trauma, and MST is a huge issue. And we talk about that on my show with various guests. They share their stories. Professional women, you would never think women who know how to shoot, who have been combat trained, have been raped in the military. And those are some of the things that what you're talking about when it falls in line with racism versus sexism. It's another added stress on top of the fact that, okay, I'm this color. I cannot help it. I can't help that I'm a woman, right? I was born this way, and it's still affecting us for the camaraderie in military even today. And that's why a lot of people get out who have not told their story because they're ashamed, or they feel like, oh, I can't talk about that because I'm supposed to be brave. I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to be courageous. And I got raped, and now I don't feel that way anymore. You don't want to talk about the institution that actually implemented that. But so you kind of bear it down, and that's how MST turns to post-traumatic stress. But getting back to post-traumatic slavery, because I know that's one of the things I think Dr. Joy talked about that, and various other psychologists. How is racism and post-traumatic slavery tied together?
Yes, Dr. Joy DeGruy.
When she, yes.
I think when she first really got big on YouTube, I had a crush on her. That's neither here nor there.
It's all right. She's a beautiful woman.
But she makes a great point about post-traumatic stress in the study of epigenetics. Yeah. So now what our family may want to consider is that our veteran brothers and sisters are going to experience a double whammy. So Correct. Now epigenetics is where traumatic experiences are passed down through DNA. So now I never had a plan to join in the military. I'm just a random person at the age of 18, not sure where I want to go, had an opportunity, and I just joined. My cousin was one of those people. When I was in high school, I had people like that they didn't join for any other reason other than it was just a way out. So now they are people who have an unfortunate heritage of slavery where their family has had traumatizing experiences under the oppressive hand of so-called white supremacy. Last night, my brother said we need to stop calling it white supremacy, and he coined it white degeneracy. I was cracking up.
Oh, my goodness.
But nonetheless, so we had these negative experiences that were passed down genetically. So now these things don't necessarily have any credibility until our brothers and sisters go to the military, and then there will be a little more credence to these experiences, because what happened to us on on plantations couldn't really be confirmed until we had a comparison through our military veterans to say, hey, what if those traumatic experiences that our brothers and sisters experienced on the battlefield were synonymous with those experiences that we had on a plantation? So now, because this is a serious thing that does not get taken seriously.
Yeah.
When we're talking about these negative experiences that mentally cripple us.
Yes.
It is a real issue, people.
And emotionally.
So much so, these military experiences, veterans, verily I say unto thee, can be passed down to your children through epigenetics. So I want you to be more so inclined to take these things that much more serious.
Yeah. And not only that, when you talk about learned behaviors and how post-traumatic stress can, if your child grew up and they were fine, and then being around a veteran who has post-traumatic stress and not working on that and being cognitive about how they are coming off, you can, like secondhand smoking, you can put that on your child. So that's the reason why you want to pay attention to what's happening right now in America for us veterans, because these type of things agitate, frustrate, confuse, divide, anger. And you have veterans who are really working on themselves not to be involved in those kind of negative situations. And they want to be peaceful. They want to be people, productive members to society. And you have those who are flexing their authority upon folks. You don't know where I come from. You don't know where I'm. For one example, I went to the store, and I live in a predominantly nice neighborhood. It's honestly, it's nice. I grew up in the ghetto, real poor. Like, anybody know what Skid Row is? I don't know if you've seen Little Shop of Horror. Down on Skid Row. Yeah, I've spent time there. I've been in all different ghettos all around the U.S. because my parents were Army veterans. They fell on hard times, drugs, living their life. I don't know, Woodstock. You could blame it on them, but we moved around a lot. So now, even though I know what it's like, I live in a really nice neighborhood now. I can still, in my neighborhood, go down the street, walk to the store, and they'll still ask me, well, where do you live? You're not from around here. They'll just assume, just because of my skin color. And I know that's what it is, because who would ask somebody like that? If you're a shop attendant trying to help someone out, why would you ask them, are you from around here? Or, do you live around here? And the tones, so you could kind of get that sense that just by my skin color, I'm looking around. I want to say, listen, I've almost died for this country. I should be respected, and so those kind of things agitate folks when you're dealing with racism. For those veterans who are out there who really, you are doing your very best to walk outside the door right now in America. And if you're melanated and you're struggling, hit me up on Instagram at pursUance, SOTB, and we can continue the conversation, because you're not alone. You don't have to be frustrated alone. There are things that you can do that will allow you to kind of center yourself in the middle of this storm. So back to you, Brother Crumb. When you talk about, go ahead.
I just wanted to kind of put things into perspective.
Yeah.
My children, I love taking care of them, but sometimes they can be ingrates.
Yeah.
I tell them, listen, I did that because I love you. You're so ungrateful.
Yeah.
Have a little, be a little more gracious. Um, and I could just imagine, a life of dedicated service to a country where you just watch them treat you like this. We've we've not asked for anything. Everything that is owed to us is owed to us. It's already a hard job. It's already a hard job. Nobody wants to do it.
Yeah.
To add just a little more injury to insult, to for me, I got a little bit of an ego, sis. I
Yeah.
got a little bit of an ego.
Everybody does.
You let me dodge a bullet. Yeah, if I dodge a bullet and do the damn Matrix, I'm gonna come back. You can't be racist to me no more. Bitch, I did the Matrix for you.
That's a criteria, right? That's a requirement. You can't be racist to me if I dodged a bullet. Let's make a shirt. Look, we should make a shirt about that. Listen, if I dodged a bullet, you can't be racist to me. That is funny.
Even though I say it in jest, I am unfortunately 1,000% seriously, because it is a serious matter, and I think our brothers and sisters are owed, seriously, I can say that with a straight face, owed respect for what they've done. I'm not saying like me, I'm not saying whatever like that, but I'm saying what I expect is not a gift, is not a handout, it is deserved. Our veterans, I'd postulate, have given more than any other veterans, simply because of their background and heritage. It's easy to love somebody that loves you.
Yeah.
Anybody in the audience, can I get an ashe? It's easy to love somebody that loves you. It's easy to sacrifice for somebody that loves you or you love. These things are, second nature in some cases.
Yeah.
But when you do it for somebody who don't love you, who don't appreciate you, got to be coming from the heart at that particular point.
Yeah.
So now you got a veteran who's going to do it, or who did it, and they came home and they were received as a hero.
Yeah. Because it's the right thing to do. They do it because it's the right thing to do. We have Black veterans, for a lack of better words, when we talk about nationality, obviously Black is not going to cut it. I get it. All my people, y'all love that black on black, all of that. But that's not even us, right? Okay. Right. Just putting that disclaimer out there. But to move the conversation along, you have Black veterans who died for this country. They gave them a cemetery, Moffett Point. Is right there in North Carolina. So we have the Moffett Point Marines, and being that I am a retired U.S. Marine, paying homage, visiting that cemetery, you would find some of the most finest that have sacrificed and paid the ultimate sacrifice for this country. When you look at the condition of where we're headed, we have white veterans who want to stand up and say something. What do you think is important that white veterans should know about what Black veterans are feeling right now?
Silence is consent. Ignorance is consent. It's all, in the age of information, saying I don't know or I didn't know is an excuse. After 400 years, I am done explaining anything to white people. At this point, I assume if a white man is ignorant, he's just an asshole. If a white man is callous, he's an asshole racist. Silence is consent. Ignorance is consent. You are part of the problem, sir. And until you make yourself a part of the solution, you will be treated as such. In terms of the military, our military is very clear on certain things. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Our people as Black people fail to understand the art of war, and that's a part of the problem. Yeah, it's a part of the problem. Until I can vet you, until I can deem you a friendly, bitch, you a hostile.
Yeah, and when you're with the good old boys, you think for chumming it up, rubbing elbows, so to speak, with the good old boys, is a way to go for blacks to survive. Especially in the military, you try to get in with, what they would call big wigs or the higher ups or whatever. It's unfortunate and it's sad because you're not taught to be an individual. So in that retrospect, you're the influence that you were influenced, and I would like to say brainwashed into thinking that's the way that we're supposed to respond, but we're not. As veterans, if you see something that's going on that's wrong, right? You shouldn't have some type of fear of recourse by standing up to your other. I'm talking about the white veterans. They love to make those racial slurs and make those comments. And, well, I'm not talking about my black veteran buddy. I'm talking about ghetto blacks. There is no comparison. I mean, it's the same. It's the same. If you're not going to stand up for everyone, then that's why I feel like, the way that the society or the veteran community is still divided, because they don't see the difference. They don't see that, okay, or they try to compartmentalize. Not they don't see the difference. They try to compartmentalize the fact that if you're silent about racism or you're still trying to do those rubbing elbows with higher ups in your sector, and talking about black folks on that level, like we're nothing or we're dogs or we're ignorant, you're also talking about your veteran brother that you might have fought, or veteran sister that you might have fought side to side with. So no more compartmentalizing either. We have to look at this as a whole, like, U.S. issue, a whole American issue. And do you think that whites can fix this for us at this point?
No. And I think that's part of the problem. We as a people have looked for a white savior. We've looked for welfare. We've looked for a crutch. We've looked for an excuse. And, even if white people want to help us, I appreciate that. But it's time for this child to walk on its own 2 feet.
Yeah.
I was raising my first son, and he was just learning to walk, and he tried to stand up, and his mama stopped him. I said, why? She said, he's going to fall. I said, yeah, that's part of the process. We need to fall to stand on our own too. Hey, to make this omelet, we're going to have to do what?
Yeah.
We got to crack a couple of eggs. So with that said, brothers and sisters, I know you may not want to, but you're going to have to stand on your own as a people. Independence has to be won independently. Certain things are given, certain things are earned. And I think our military veterans know that a little bit better than our civilians.
Yeah.
And, on the world stage, even though we may be owed a lot, I'm still ready to earn my keep. I want to earn my respect. I still have something to prove after this whole time. But the difference is, at this point, I'm not trying to prove it to white people. I'm not trying to prove it to people who want to see me in Jordans. I'm trying to prove it to my sisters like you, to my brothers who are veterans, who say, you know what, it's time for us to take care of our black veterans, and not say, oh, well, send him to the VA, and he got to stand in line for the next 20 years just so they can dope them up or something like that. I've heard so many things happen to our black veterans at these VA hospitals, so on and so forth. It is deplorable.
Yeah.
It is deplorable. But I tell you, at the end of the day, our black veterans are not the responsibility of Uncle Sam. Our people are our people first. They're veterans second. Our people are our response. After you get done and you come off that battlefield, you go to Big Mama house.
That's
right. She's going to take care of you. She's going to feed you. Not the VA. And don't get me wrong, the VA is there. I'm down for the VA. But it's time for us to have some. I tell you what, I'm going to tell you this, sis. I don't know if you knew this or not.
Go ahead.
When that Jew come off the battlefield, his people got something waiting for him to say, hey, you know what? We take care of ours. He's good
Absolutely.
from here on out.
Absolutely.
Once he gets past this threshold into, hey, ain't no more guns blasting, we can take it from here.
Yeah.
He's in a civilian world. His auntie and them got him.
Yeah. Brother Crumb, can you give us and impart some last words of wisdom before we wrap it up about, why racism is traumatic, or any other gems that you want to drop for our veteran listeners?
Absolutely. I do pride myself on being the internet's favorite racist, and I tell you, um, race is important. Race insinuates a competition. We are competing. We must understand that while we serve, while we work, while we are out here in the field doing what we have to do to feed our families, that there is a dual venture going on simultaneously. We not only represent our mama, our daddies, our families, our neighborhoods, but we represent our people. And if we can serve, if we can um, operate within that at the forefront of our minds, not just on the veteran side, but on the civilian side, because when those veterans get back, we need to be ready for them each and every year.
Yeah.
So we need to think race first. And I got to be honest with you, sis, there is no such thing as race. There's
No,
only humans.
there is.
And I'm going to put this out here. We are the only humans.
Hue, as in HUE, too.
Right.
Hue. Every
When you're
human.
dealing with race,
Yeah.
if you go look it up, race is only assigned to subspecies. Humans are the highest level of existence you can have. The races are the subspecies that fall under that. So now when we're dealing with race first, or just being human, being civil, we must take this to the battlefield, because we understand that our nature as a people, as a race, we are a peaceful people. And we do the things that we have to do because they must be done, and for no other reason. Our people have never enjoyed blood. I know veterans, when they get a steak, I want my steak cooked all the way. We don't do blood. That's not our thing. We are a peaceful and good and kind-hearted people. Whether we be veterans who have had to do things, or we may have been on the Navy side, like the Minister of Information, who was just in a culinary division, which they do a lot as well, because we know the military travels on our stomach. But at wherever you serve, just keep at the forefront of your mind that we are the humans, the peaceful people, the people who operate at a higher standard than anyone else on the face of the earth. And we need to take care of those who have to go against their nature and may have to do something that they don't want to do, but they have to do it. And those people should be highly respected, because at the end of the day, sis, I love everybody.
Yeah.
But some of these jokers got to get what they call it? One confirmed kill.
Yeah. One shot, one
Confirmed kill.
Yeah.
Some of these, in the spirit of Nat Turner, some of y'all got to go. So I respect the brothers and sisters who have been assigned with taking these coons out. So with that said, family, I want to say stay encouraged. It is such a hard thing to do in this world. It's an ugly thing to do, but you do it with such elegance as a people. So I want to thank and give my appreciation and gratitude to the brothers and sisters who represent me and our people. And I want you to know, from just one person, I may not be anybody, but you are appreciated. We see you, we love you, and you have not been forgotten about. Even if they forgot about you, I haven't forgot about you. And I want to share this one time before I go, sis. I will be going to Skid Row this year. First time in my life, I will go to Skid Row, because I'm not going to get to a certain level and turn my back on my people.
Yeah, if you're going there, I would love to do that journey with you. All too familiar. I know what's going on out there on Skid Row, and it is not pretty. It is not beautiful. Thank you, Brother Crumb, for just sharing your heart, your insight with us. Veterans, if you want to get more information and even exclusive content, go to crumbtv.cling.com, CLEENG. I'm going to put it in the show notes. And of course, hit him up on IG. He has some of the most interesting and sometimes daunting information that is on his IG page at crumbtv_. You got to check it out. Make sure you follow and stay connected with this brother on YouTube at Crumb TV. You heard him right here on purSUance Straight Out the Box. You know where you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at trrichard4, and of course my podcast platform on Instagram at pursUance psotb. Thank you so much for tuning in. Know that I am here rooting for your daily victories right here on purSUance Straight Out the Box. See you next time. Thank you for listening to purSUance Straight Out the Box. Follow me on social media. Leave questions and comments on Instagram at purSUance SOTB, Facebook at trrichard4. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, JT Inspire LLC. Tune in next week for more courageous topics right here on purSUance Straight Out the Box.